Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 13th Hope is Alive. We started this, Brandon and I started this back in 2014. I work for Shasta County Health and Human Services Agency, and he was a Simpsonette student, just doing open mics over at Sweet Spot. And I came to him and said, I thought that we were working on this campaign, Stand Against Stigma, which is the sponsor of this event today, to educate the community that 1 in 4 people struggle with a mental health challenge like depression, bipolar, anxiety, and other issues. More than 40 people every year dying by suicide. And that I thought, though, a great way to start educating the community to get people to start speaking out was through performance and through artistic expression.
Growing up in Southside Stockton, happiness is something that is always an arm's distance, kind of like the grave. It's really interesting the way that you could see somebody stripped down of everything and still be able to find joy in their life. I grew up with people who had little to nothing left in their pockets but a smile on their face because they understood the fact that the pride they carried for their own culture was great enough to help pursue that happiness dream that's lied inside of their heart. See, we didn't need no fresh start. We just needed the ground that we had underneath our feet to keep walking on in hopes that we would be healthy enough to continue the journey. But this nation doesn't really like that. It tries to make sure that we step backwards and backwards and backwards to the point to where we fall back into the grave, but instead we push forward. We say we will not be stopped in this pursuit of happiness, but instead we will continue to fight on because this health that lies in our soul is far better than any wealth this world will ever offer. I just want to let you guys know that where I come from, we extend love. We carry love like cell phones. We use it to communicate with one another. Allow us to send messages to one another so that way we can show the world just what love can look like when it's cooked right. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
I close my eyes and I open my heart that beats the distance to you. And in this darkness I see your blaze. Into the night you are the day. Oh, 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 child, the world has gone astray. With stars like you can guide our way everywhere you go. You shine in every seed you sow. You shine, baby, don't you know? You shine, the challenges will come, world you're going to face. You hold the hope for the human race. The destiny of life on earth is tied to you and who you birth. The 7th generation is inside of you. Oh, 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 child, world has gone astray. With stars like you can guide our way everywhere you go. You shine on every seed you sow. You shine, baby, don't you know? You shine everywhere you go. Everywhere you go,
I'm going to first read a poem written by my beautiful sister. And the fact that I'm reading it, it's important because she's a beautiful writer, and one day she'll be up here reading it too. It's called Reflection. The room is getting lighter as dawn is drawing near. I can see someone in front of me, but the image isn't clear. I set my eyes straight forward and stare at the same place. Adjusting the changing light, I can now make out a face. I see that she's a woman. Her hair is long and straight. It's hard to tell how old she is. Early 30s, maybe late. Her eyes are warm and gentle, but there's a shadow in their range, perhaps regret or sorrow for things she cannot change. I sense a bit of loneliness, a hole no one can fill, for the man she fell in love with and the one that she loves still. She longs to share her love of life, even in the smallest things, like a stop to smell the roses for the pleasure that it brings. But she fears no one can love her in her heart's own loving fashion, a soul combining fusion with the intensive heat and passion. I feel relaxed and comfortable just by her friendly smile, like we've known each other, always, though it's only been a while. It's light now, and I'm surprised. The room is clear to see. The image is from a mirror, and the woman inside is me. So I sit up late and I contemplate, what is my dharma? What is my fate? When the rubber meets the road, will I hesitate? I'm not sure I've got what it takes to keep me straight. How can I be at peace with me, with a loving door for you to see, the way to make it home, the way for you to set you free?
Next, we have Jeremiah. And then on deck, we have Amy. So everybody please show some love for Jeremiah.
Hello, little darling, no need to worry. Worry about my whole life. Why go home, be all alone? Know that the sun is shining because of you. Just know that's true. When your money's gone, where will you be? If your love is strong, that's all you need. One time you know I love you with your funky butt style. Love you twice a month since you had our first child. My love runs deep like the blood in my veins. Love you always and always the same. Love remains with your every change, with your every phase. Just pass another day, plus on your way. Oh, darling, darling, if you stay, my love will never stray. And feel the power when our two hearts will combine. The power's yours, the power's mine. When lovers part, you know the sky must cry. Write your love letters till my pen runs dry. And if you stay, good love and make me wanna fly. If you go, rise and fall, dip and dive. You're warm with, so I shine so bright. I love you, darling, till the day that I die. Just kidding.
Two things, my man. One, my grandpa was a severe alcoholic for about like 45 years of his life. And it was only in his last two that he finally kicked the habit. And those were his two most peaceful years we ever had with him. So I'm proud of that, my brother. Proud of that.
So my name is Amy Sturgeon. I'm the what is called a community education specialist for suicide prevention with Shasta County, which is just a fancy way of saying that I get the incredible privilege of going out into the community and sharing suicide prevention resources and actually doing training and letting people know that there are things that can help when someone's in crisis. So I have a really, really cool job. There's a couple things that I want to tell you about today that I think that are really important that you might be excited about. First of all, I'm going to try to see out into the audience. Could you please raise your hand if you're between the ages of 14 and 25? Keep your hands up if you're going to school. Okay, so you guys, if you don't get a chance today to perform, but you're feeling very creatively inspired today, there is an amazing opportunity called Directing Change, which is a film contest that is statewide. Last year, we only had one entry from Shasta County, which is a shame because the grand prize right now is $1,000. If you win, also, they give you funds and make sure that you can get down for their red carpet reception to receive your award. So it's a really, really cool opportunity. And what I'd like to do is show you the entry that came from Shasta County last year because they actually got an honorable mention for their region, which doesn't sound like much except for that the region is like almost all of NorCal. So are you guys ready for this? You want to see this? You ready? Okay, hit it.
It's okay to ask if they're thinking about suicide and get them the help they need. Friends, family, and relationships are essential pieces of this puzzle. And by simply reaching out, you can show them that you are worried about them and that you really care about them. Life can be confusing, and sometimes the adversities and challenges of life start to take over. But a change of perspective might be all someone needs to turn their life around.
What do you guys think? Yeah, that came right out of our community. Just so incredibly proud of that team that put that together. So Directing Change is an incredible opportunity for the youth to engage in that conversation about mental health and suicide prevention and express yourself. A lot of times I think the youth probably feel like we're talking at you guys all the time, telling you guys what to think, telling you guys what, but we want to hear it from you. We'd like you to be in that conversation and create something that you would like to say to the world. The other thing that I want to tell you about is if you walked in today while the lights were on, you might have noticed that there are some posters along this wall right here. And that is our brand new men's mental health campaign. And the reason, thank you. Now, the reason that we're reaching out to men specifically, I don't know if you know this, but the statistics are, that's a really hard word to say in a microphone. The statistics are that men die by suicide about 3.5 to 4 times more often than women. Okay, so what we wanted to do is an outreach campaign that not only men could respond to, but also represented our community. And so the Shasta Suicide Prevention Work Group, the community education specialist, now known as the Stand Against Stigma Committee, helped with this effort. We did some focus groups so that we could actually get input from our community about what they wanted to see and what was important to them. And what we came up with was this incredible campaign where men got a chance to tell us what they feel is strength and resiliency and mental health. So I want to really let you know that this is something that you can engage in. If you, we're calling it Captain Awesome. As you can see on some of the posters, it says, get back to being Captain Awesome. And we would like to empower the community to be a part of this campaign. And so if you know someone who's a Captain Awesome that you would like to nominate, that would like to be in our ads, or if you would like to tell the world, what you think strength and mental health and resilience are, then please let us know. I have a table out here. Please check it out and grab my card and contact me and we'll get you set up. So, and I think that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you for letting me take your time.
So something super significant is the fact that you guys live in a county in which actually cares about mental health issues. Too oftentimes these things have just kind of been thrown to the side in lieu of a bunch of other stuff. Hey, for instance, in Stockton, hey, we got kids who are, struggling with drug addiction and mental health issues and gang violence. But what will really help? That new football field for the football team at this local high school, they could really benefit from that. It'll boost morale for them. We got a really low literacy rate in Stockton. What can we do to help change it? I know. We can give them a brand new weight room at every school in Stockton. It's a perfect way to help solve literacy in San Joaquin County. I'm being facetious. But no, the fact of the matter is, like, in being teamed up with you guys for the past 4 years, like, I've seen a lot of dramatic change in just some of the people who have continued to show up and show up and show up to these events and in their lives because they actually have the opportunity to let it out. And that's kind of been one of the biggest issues with men, is this concept of masculinity where, like, we have to bear the brunt of all these things on our shoulders, but we never get an outlet. We never get a way to let it loose, aside from, like, you know, athletics or something like that, which is why I feel poetry and art is really dope, because now I can actually use words as opposed to using my body in a physical way to have to exert it. And I still hoop. I mean, I'll ball some people up. But, yeah, poetry is definitely a real big thing for me. After Jace, who do we got up? Jesus, if you would begin to make your way up to the front for me, that'd be greatly appreciated. But right now, I would like to introduce a 17-year-old. I believe she's local here. And she's going to sing and play her guitar. Welcome up, Jace. One really powerful thing about art is that you don't have to, like, do art professionally in order to, like, actually love doing art. You can just do art, because one of the greatest things that artists help me do is learn more about myself. The process is called self-actualization, if you want to hear the technical term. But, I mean, like, art for the sake of art is really dope. And if you can use it for the sake of, like, helping you become a better version of you, then why not? And so up next, we have a really dope spoken word poet named Jesus. And on deck, we have Aiden. Make sure that you meet me up here so we can get you taken care of. Give it up for Jesus, you guys.
Hey, how you doing? So, I'm PTSD and I got Jesse. That's kind of the tone of this. I got PTSD and I've been recently diagnosed and getting a lot of treatment and a lot of care for it. There is a lot of people in this county, a lot of people across Shasta County in its entirety that really do care about mental health. Stand Against Stigma, Amy Sturgeon over here, suicide prevention, awesome. Can you give him a round of hand? Yeah, let's give him a hand for this. So I'm kind of blending together like 3 poems that I wrote over the last 3 years, and PG rated. I'm sorry, but so it's kind of all new. Anxiety and stress, it's always constant. It's push, push, press. And I want to scream out, I'm under duress. But don't hit the alarm just yet, because I'm far from being in distress. You see, I've been displaced. I've been disgraced. I've been cast out of home and place. Bound to roam these streets alone, because I just lost the closest thing I've ever known to home. I'm emotionally vexed, unable to make haste. I feel as if I've been maced in mouth and face. I got this taste on my tongue. I want to become numb, without the means used and sold by scum. That's what it's called by some. And as the hours pass by on this day, I feel this tension building and something's got to give way. But not my heart. It's certainly not my will and drive that sets me apart. You see, it's a duplicitous deviation. When one tries to escape the ruin and devastation, but the act's taken, well, they haven't always fallen in line with self-preservation. And nowadays, nothing seems to phase. I'm looking back on it, it's distorted and surrounded in a haze. Chalking it up, taking a higher path, it adds up when I do the math. My shorthanded vision has got me left with the remainder of a hardline decision. You see, I feel like I've left and I'm leaving, but the rear view, it's faulty and deceiving. Objects may appear to be small, but I know it best. A past unresolved can be a nasty pest. So I'm stuck analyzing, and my goals are realigning. Throwing out the long term is hard because I'm afraid of taking the wrong turn. And if I needed a gift, would you give me the ability to discern? How about you come give me a hug and do your best to pull me out of a mind stricken with grief and concern? I sit and I think and I think. Yeah, I heard it before. Go find yourself a shrink. You see, I'm dealing with more than having been met with disrespect. A great fear of inadequacy lives on deep inside of me. And what has happened? It's left me questioning my child's safety, or she's safer away from me. I mean, a whole life, substances and all, were deconstructed. And nobody's had to answer for that at all. It's not vengeance I'm seeking, nor am I with a penalizing approach. I just can't accept the escape by those who encroached. One hurtful thought, and it turns me right around. And then I'm enraged. I'm a beast of a different maker, and I'm tearing up this cage. But do please know that I no longer grow a living life inside of me that cares to see others shine and glow. It was a blunder to entertain a mind frame of glory and wonder. It may just be that I wasn't meant to have a smile inside of me. You see, I wrote that kind of just recently, and I was very bleak. It was very dim times for me. I was kind of like, I had found a bottom, just like kind of smacked into the bottom actually. Then I rolled down a hill, found myself at a new low. Blow after blow, 52 cards in a row. Now I know, checking out, it's easy. I think a lot of us can relate with that. Checking out, it does not beat checking in. You know, when all this began, I had to really check myself out. I asked myself 3 questions. Same 4 words, oddly enough. Who am I exactly? I am who exactly? And to piggyback on the self-actualization and the jungular theories there, exactly who I am. Out of those 4 words, you make 3 statements, or 3 sentences, 2 questions, 1 statement. Find yourself, and don't check out, check in. Thank you.
My name is Carrie Jo. I run the Stand Against Stigma program, and Brave Faces is like Hope is Alive, another way that we go out into the community and fight stigma and try to help others with their mental health. And today we have one of our speakers who's fairly new, so go easy on him. So I would like to introduce to you Aiden Mares. He's going to share his personal story with you, so your patience and non-judgment is appreciated.
So you guys got to see some like really amazing performances, and I'm gonna talk at you, so sorry about that. But I am gonna get pretty deep. I'm gonna share kind of a short version of my life story with you. I suffer from a mental illness, and it is depression. Now, to understand a little bit about my story, you need to understand a little bit about me. I am a transgender man, meaning I was assigned female at birth, and I have since then transitioned to male. Growing up, I felt very different at a very early age. Automatically from the get-go, sorry, my heart's racing a little bit. I didn't make friends like, the other kids around me. I was one of 5 kids. My older brothers and sisters were about 13 to 11 years older than me. And then I had a little sister that was 8 months and 21 days younger than me. So we were in the same grade and everything growing up. I was always her sibling. Like, nobody ever referred to me by me. I was always just, the other one. And that kind of just was something that I can always remember. Kind of always feeling like this outcast a little bit, even in my own family. And I disliked pictures. I disliked being in them. I didn't want anybody to take a picture of me. I would cry. I would frown. All of my school pictures growing up, most of them from like kindergarten to like 3rd grade, I'm crying. After that, I just looked pissed off. It was hard for me, and I didn't understand why. And that was a big thing. Like, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand why I didn't like having my picture taken. I didn't understand why I was having such a hard time making friends. I didn't understand why I couldn't fit in. I was just kind of having this turmoil at a very young age. And I had no words. I had no way to express what was going on. I kind of grew up, in the 90s, and it was this suppress your feelings and kind of don't let people, know your dirty laundry and stuff like that, keep it at home. And so I kind of just stayed in my head and didn't really do a whole lot. When I was 14, my older sister, my best friend in the entire world, passed away from cancer. And from then, I kind of just went down into this dark hole. At 15, it got so bad that my parents had taken me to the doctor, and they put me on antidepressants, which unfortunately I had some problems with. I was allergic to a couple of the first ones they put me on, ended me up in the hospital. I still have some complications to this day from that concerning my nerves. And eventually I was able to be put on one that was able to keep me steady to where I wasn't in such a deep, dark hole, but I also couldn't really feel too much of anything either. So I kind of decided that as I was getting older, and it was in high school, that I kind of needed to fit in this box. My world around me was kind of crumbling. My parents were splitting up, and I was like, I need to do these certain things to be happy in life and have this life that I thought I needed. So I had been on antidepressants now for several years, off and on with different ones, trying to figure out something, anything to help. I got married at a very young age. I was 19, because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. And I just kind of got lost even more into myself. Had my daughter when I was 21. And then I kind of had like this crisis of being like, I have nothing in my life that actually resembles like who I am inside. I don't have understanding of what's going on. Like I had a little bit more understanding as being an adult, and knowing what transgender was, and knowing that people could feel this way and feel different and feel like, you know, they're not in the right skin. And it wasn't until my divorce that I finally decided that I would figure out a way to do something. My divorce was because I eventually ended up in a mental hospital because I had gotten so bad that I couldn't stop crying. I had tried to hurt myself, and at that point, it had ended my marriage. I'd hit rock bottom, but that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I stepped up, and I got custody of my daughter, and I was still kind of very sad going through my divorce and everything, and she comes up to me, and she's like, please don't cry. She's 2 years old, and that just did it for me. I went on the internet, and I started looking things up, and came across some YouTube videos, and saw these people talking about their lives and what led them to understanding what was going on, and these epiphanies, and what it felt like to actually make that leap and come out and transition. And so on my 24th birthday, I decided that I was going to do it. I wasn't happy living my life, if that's what you would call it, because to me it was, I was watching the whole thing. I wasn't really living it. So I finally came out, and I found that people were really supportive in my life. My dad was absolutely amazing. I had incredibly long hair, and the second I told him, he took me down to the barbershop, and we both got our hair cut together, and he took me home, and he called me son for the very first time, and it was the most incredible experience I had ever felt at that moment. I went to Planned Parenthood because they offer transgender services, and found out about groups in town, LGBT groups and stuff like that, and went and learned even more. I started testosterone, and from that moment, it was just like this deep breath of fresh air, and kind of understanding what was going on. I finally had a therapist and a diagnosis for what was going on with me. I had gender dysphoria in adolescence and adult, and gender identity disorder in adolescence and adult, and having those diagnoses and understanding that, you know, my depression was a symptom of me not being whole and me not being who I was. I was able to go off of my antidepressants. I'm able to have, you know, a really amazing life. My daughter's in kindergarten now, and couldn't be happier that she's, you know, got 2 daddies, and she has 2 mommies, and I have an amazingly supportive wife, and you know, my life has completely changed. I feel like I'm living it for the first time. the last 3 years have been definitely the most amazing years of my life. I'm 27 now. I can say before that I never thought that I'd make it to be this old. And now, like, I just want to live until I'm gray and old, like as old and crippled as I can possibly be, because I finally found, me. I still struggle a little bit with depression from time to time. Those things, unfortunately, can creep back in. But the great thing is that with the outreach that I've been able to receive and the resources that I've been able to receive have helped me build tools to be able to handle those situations when I feel like that. And I think that's the most important thing. It's stigmatized so much, mental health, as well as, being transgender is incredibly stigmatized. But mental health too. And the thing is it was so many years of my life not being able to come out and say who I am and be mentally, stable with what's going on, because of the fact that I was afraid. I was afraid of what my family would think, about what everybody around me would think. I was afraid of, society, because we all kind of have these preconceptions of mental illness and things like that. And I think the most important thing is getting it out there that, this is something that, many people deal with on a day-to-day basis, and we're all human, and we're all people, and we all have a story. Since I've come out, I am now a board member on NorCal Outreach Project, which is the LGBT nonprofit in town. I do many speaking and things like that, and I get to help people in the community. And I just got started doing the Brave Faces with Shasta County, and I think that, this is an absolutely, amazing thing for people to be able to tell their stories and show that there's so much hope, on the other side. Like, I get to start college for the first time in August, and I couldn't be happier. So I think that getting rid of that stigma and educating people, that, there's help out there. There's ways to help people and get the help you need too. And we don't need to throw scary phrases behind it or stigmatize it. It's important to have hope and be positive for the people around you.
Been through a few things in my life. I've been suicidal at one point, been through some clinical depression, raised 8 kids. I have a wife and a daughter that both have fibromyalgia and the depression that goes with that. We've got 2 adoptive kids that both have mental illness. So I do a little comedy because it makes me feel better. I started writing as a teenager to help me cope with my depression. And it started as poetry and eventually led to this. So I'm going to tell you a few jokes and hope you like it. I've been writing this for a long time, just recently started performing it, so give me a break. You got it? Well, the wife and I, she went out recently and she bought one of those lithium-powered scales. You know, the ones you stand on them and you look down and it tells you exactly how much you weigh. So she comes in and she gets this, and now every morning I hear her go in and I hear this, oh. And I know exactly just what happened. Personally, I don't like lithium-powered scales. I'm waiting for a Prozac-powered scale. Yeah. Then I know what I will hear in the morning is, honey, I gained 4 pounds and I am darn happy about it. Yeah.
Nothing here will be lost in translation. See, I'm angry as I think about extermination after extermination, evacuations upon native civilizations, and how our oppressors are given accommodations with no rationalization. You see, the capitalization upon false allegations and accusations has led to an illegal land grab from the Big Islands to the Cascades to the Appalachians. The creation of slanted public educations of ignoring American genocides of entire generations is sending me on a tangent. This has been allowed to run rampant. Our voices left absent while I've been busted into fragments, leaving us transient on reservations. This nation was founded upon devastations, desecrations, and plantations. To all my relations, this bribery can't stop what's inside of me. They won't even try to see. See, they lie to me when they say it's okay to confide in me, because justice is a little too close to just us. Listless words when they say to trust us. I'm causing a disruption. I'm calling for an obstruction of this corruption, the reduction of abductions of Native women, and the destructions of presumptions and deconstructions we've been given, because the House of Representatives does not represent Natives. Get peeled like a plantain, let's do the damn thing. I roll with aim, in control of the game. The American Indian movement, pit crew is doing it and moving it. The other cats won't be proving it. We invite and incite the right to fight for our rights. We invite and incite the right to fight for our rights. I realize what it took for us just to be alive, be surprised. We didn't thrive, we survived. I spit, it's efficient. They spit, it's deficient. Your condition's sufficient while I split them like division in fractions. Your inaction is a lack of passion. When I'm in action, it's an act of passion. Who is the hottest? Pit foxes, check your pockets, stop it, it's getting hot quick. Can't top it, knock them unconscious. Get off of this if you're acting obnoxious. I'll burn you, so be cautious, check your options. I'll stop when I'm dead. Off with your head, I'm so toxic as Gnosis. Shout out to the Victors and the Thomases. No promises. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. This is my music. I'm Lewis, I'm losing it. Causing confusions, contusions, and bruises. Check your uses. We're blowing these fuses. It induces concussions, repercussions, reductions. Rushing to bust them, hit them hard like percussion. Crushing and dusting, it's disgusting, don't trust them. Give me the ball and I'm rushing. In my wake, there's carcasses, it's hard to miss. If you're starting some, you better come harder than this. Traumatic, dramatic, psychopathically drastic. Melted like plastic, I passed it on bombastic. Don't panic, not manic, straight panic. Get off like granite, can't stand it, dagnammit. Get smashed like preserves, rights reserved. Deserve to see more curves, get more game than wildlife preserved if you haven't heard. And that's just one of my songs.
Okay. I've never done this before. I didn't think I'd be here tonight. I woke up this morning extremely depressed. I didn't want to, I didn't want to go to school. I had a really bad day. I've had a really bad week. Yeah. And then I got off the bus and my parents picked me up from the bus stop today because they were home. And in my driveway was Brandon, and I was so extremely happy. Mostly because an hour before I had planned on coming home and killing myself after my parents left. There's a lot of people. Brandon was my inspiration to start writing, and ever since, every time I'm depressed, I just go to my room and I write, and it's helped me a lot. Writing is something that I don't know, I guess it's just an outlet for me. I guess I'll just get into it. Again, this is a poem that I've never even said out loud, so, and I don't know if you can actually call it poetry. I guess I just wrote some stuff down, and a lot of it does have to do with my parents, and it's gonna seem like I am mad at them, I guess, but I'm not. I love my parents, I love my parents. Okay, mental illnesses. I was in the car with my mother 2 days ago when the topic of mental illness came up. I was diagnosed with social anxiety and depression a year ago. However, my mother has still not been able to accept it. Neither has my dad, or my siblings, or my friends, or even society. My mom thinks I do it for attention. She thinks I cut and purposely hide it to get her attention. But how can I get attention if no one sees it? Her solution is to take a walk. Depression is a mental illness. It can't be simply fixed by taking a walk. Yes, that'll help for the meantime, but it's not going to fix anything. I know I can't. It can't be magically cured by exercising or being social. Stop saying I'm fine. I'm not fine, Mother. How about instead of acting like I don't have it, start trying to help? Stop sitting there and telling me how all I need to do is this and that. Mom, it's in my head. I want it to go away. It hasn't gone away, and sometimes I feel like it won't go away. Some learn to live with it, and some don't survive it. Maybe try to understand it. Put yourself in my shoes. Having depression and anxiety at the same time is like wanting to jump off a bridge, but you don't because your anxiety overruled your depression by putting that thought in your head of what if it doesn't work? What if you have to live with these deformities because you tried to hurt yourself and you ended up hurting yourself, just not enough to kill yourself, and you just end up being even more depressed because you couldn't do it. Lost my spot. I'm in pain. This is difficult, and my parents haven't even tried to understand. Stop telling me that I need to be a better role model for my sister. My sister told my parents, my sister was the first person to tell my parents that I cut, and that was the hardest conversation I ever had to have with her, because without my parents having to tell me to have the conversation, I walked into my room and saw my sister crying. And knew I had to have the conversation with her of, this isn't how you deal with it. But then I started to think about, why do I deal with it this way? I didn't cut you, Mom, I cut myself. I didn't stay up all night crying for fun. I didn't sleep all day because I'm lazy. I didn't wake up with a headache from crying to be dramatic. I'm physically suffering. I have a mental illness. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't just to please you or everyone around me. I'm not going to refrain from telling people, not for attention, but to help them. You see, when other people tell me that they have mental illnesses, it helps me because it makes me feel less alone. I can't help but thinking this way sometimes. Stop acting like I'm a burden because of this. I've always had it, I just finally figured out what it's called. Mental health should be a priority, so make it one. So I wrote this like a year ago. Last night was the homecoming football game. I broke down and started crying, and everything went pretty bad after that. The only reason it came out that night was because I'd been holding it in for so long. Because no one wants to hear it anymore, right? Because you tell me to smile, because you tell me to hold it in and be happy, right? I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it. I have depression. Yes, maybe one day I'll overcome it, but for now, try to understand. All I want is for you to understand. No, not understand, because you have to go through it to understand it, or at least that's what I've learned. Because people try to understand it, but they don't. So I write. I write and I write till my hands cramp up. I scream into pillows and I cry. But what I've learned is things look up. And maybe not today, but one day.
I got a junkie itch and the shakes from the medication ain't what you're thinking. Not to say that it hasn't been, but I've traded in the gleanings of the street for the gamble of protection against madness they sell at the pharmacy. Just now finding the words to express these things I've always known. Pain, it ain't just found in things that cause the loss of blood, an injury to bone. Well, Mama died at an early age, or so it come to seem. But the seeds of faith fell to shallow earth like so many manic dreams. Mama, I know you did the best you could, but the nature of the soil in which you'd sown them seeds made it all no good. Well, I'm just now finding the words to express these things I've always known. Pain, it ain't just found in things that cause a loss of blood, injury to bone. Got a notebook, a pistol, and half a pack of smokes. Well, I'll fill the first, empty the third, and for the second, I don't know. But if the screaming in my mind doesn't settle down, a single expression from the mouth of the second one will shut it all right out.
Time for one more. It's so common for people to vacate life off of this building that they have called it the Skipjack Dive Team. My buddy Eric, he drank a bottle of bleach. We found him. He was okay. He can't taste or he can't smell anything anymore. And since he's been deemed insane or of lesser sanity than everybody else, they couldn't have him finish the program, so the Navy just made him a cook, which explains a lot about the food. Can't smell, can't taste, great cook. Going into cooking, we had one little cook that thought that the only way you can make mac and cheese is by adding sugar. She was wrong. It was gross. And there are very few things. I worked down in a place that we called the pits, not only because it sucked, it was also at the very bottom of the ship. Sunlight was a new concept for most of us after a while. But when you work down there, there's a few things that you look forward to, and a nice slice of cake with your lunch is one of the few things that kind of gives you some joy in life. I'm brand new to the ship, don't realize exactly how much it sucks, because it does. And, they assign you to somebody to walk you around, and he's like, sweet, they have cake. because usually by the time we get to eat, they're out. You know, and we go, we eat our food, and he has this piece of cake, and he takes a bite out of it. And for the Weedles in the room, I'll edit this. You just see this grown man get real depressed, and it's cornbread. They iced cornbread and called it cake. Now, I ended up getting off the ship a full year early because I fell down the stairs, and now I'm afraid of heights. I don't like stairs. I don't like standing. I damaged my hip, back, and shoulders. I can't draw a bow anymore. I actually spent 8 months walking with a cane before the Navy finally decided, wait, you're actually broken. We should look into this. I buried 12 friends in 6 years. 12 friends, like not even like, hey, I knew that guy. It was, hey, I used to drink with that guy. We hung out. I met his wife and his kids. 12 of them. And 3 of them did it themselves. One of them joined the dive team, and one of them started a shotgun, and he actually did that during a party. And turns out if you make a loud noise, people find you quickly. One of the last ones that I had to deal with is my mentor on the ship, MM1. She was a great person, had some trouble in her life, was getting her life back together, and had a boating accident. I don't know the details of it. I don't want to know the details of it, but she was one of the people that you talk to when you're feeling down, because there's happiness in the world. And honestly, I miss her. Not because of any romantic thing that never happened. It was more of, I miss having somebody in my life that was that genuinely happy even when everything sucked. And she worked next to me in the pits. It sucked. And now everybody needs that one person in their life that is just happy. Because that's life. You just got to find the happy bits in the middle of it that make it worth it. Time? Yeah. All right. Y'all have fun?
I'm in the studio now. Feel like I'm home, but can you feel it? Like 6 dang strings never sounded so appealing, can you? Like once you grab the mic, you better sing like you believe. Like you believe in you. Like you